Hey, what's going on, family? It's Pastor Emel, and we are back with another episode of the podcast room. Firstly, let me say thank you all so much for your support, your love throughout these podcast episodes. It means the world to us. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We have another good episode, another good conversation coming up. But before you do that, I need to make sure you subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. I want you to like the conversation even before we have the conversation, because I know it's going to be good. I prophesy that you will like the conversation. So hit that like button. Throughout the conversation, I would love to see your comments. Hit that share button. Most importantly, you want to hit the bell so that every time we drop an episode, you are notified. Got it? I love y'all for watching. Thank you. I'm with a friend today. I'm with this guy is just, he's not normal, but he is one of the dopest dudes I know. He is a preacher beyond preachers. I want you all to introduce for the first time, and probably the last time, I'm going to be honest with you. We're going to do a whole lot of this. The great elder, overseer, presbyter,
Cardinal,
Pope, Jamal Brantley. What up, Jamal?
What's going on, bro? How you doing?
I'm good.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay.
So late at night, but I'm so grateful to be here.
See, now the people watching don't know what time of day we film.
I don't care. I'm messing up already. It's all right.
So look, tell the people how long you've been preaching.
So I've been preaching 21 years.
Okay. So how did you start preaching? What was your journey like?
So let's talk about that. So literally, my heart's desire was to literally be an attorney. So from 13, I started getting all these prophecies. You're going to be a preacher. You're going to be a preacher. Now, I started playing drums at 13. So I've been playing drums since I was 13 years old. And every person that came to prophesy literally came to tell me, you're going to be a preacher. You're going to be a preacher. And I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. No problem. Mm-hmm. And then after a while, I began to have like these dreams. And then I noticed the dreams become reality. And then I joined Zion Tabernacle Church, 2002.
Shout out to Bishop Watts.
Yep, shout out to my spiritual father. And literally that man cultivated the gift of the preacher in me. But before he did the preacher, he cultivated the man in me. Yeah. And I think one of the challenges is that I had to realize that what my dad couldn't do, biological father, my spiritual father literally cultivated and worked in. So it was awesome. So you started preaching
at what you said 21 years you've been preaching?
So I've been for 21 years. So I started preaching at 16. And I'm 36.
So what was that like starting to preach at 16?
Let's say
we're the same age. I didn't know that.
You're 36?
Yeah, I'll be 37 in a couple of weeks.
I thought you was like 52. But
I feel 91 and a half.
That's because you've been doing so much work.
Here we go. Okay, now tell me what it was like you preaching at 16.
Okay, so 16. So let's talk about that. Number one,
did people take you serious at 16?
They did, but my high school was where I had the challenge because they've never seen nobody who was so churchy like me.
Right.
You know, everything somebody would do something, I'm like, oh, Jesus. Oh, God.
That's you.
So they never took me serious.
Yeah.
But one situation happened in school where my science teacher, Miss Johnson, collapsed in the class while she was having a seizure. And my mom had oil in my bag. I literally took the oil, put it in my hand, and I laid hands on my teacher.
Is this a true story?
So serious. And she came out of the seizure. Now, hold on. Wait a minute. It's a podcast, not church. And so she got out of the seizure, and my classmates were like, I have never seen that before.
That's crazy.
And at that time, I think if I'm not mistaken, I was sophomore, junior, one of the two, because, I wasn't that great in school. But
you wanted to be an attorney? Okay.
Until I found out how many years it took to do that. And I said, we're going to cancel that right now. But I think that situation really kind of opened the eyes of my friends. And a lot of the conversations that I had with my friends literally opened up to them telling me some of the stuff they were dealing with.
Okay.
That's how prayer with my friends started. And that's how all of these other things began. I began to notice, like they began to share with me, and I began to have those conversations. Many of my friends in high school started going to church because of that.
That's crazy.
So that was literally, no lie, like the move of God, which I believe had to happen in order for them to kind of believe in the God that I serve.
Yeah.
When I graduated high school, they gave me an award called the Guidance Insight Award.
Okay, they made that up.
They made it up. They did.
Made it up.
Which actually became the Jamal Brantley Leadership Award at my high school, which was crazy. And so,
can you put the camera on me for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go.
Okay. 5 students get that award every year. And I go and present it to them.
Gum? What they get?
God bless you, and you better be like me when you get older. That's what you better be. How about that? You represent my name on this award. You better be like me.
That's actually dope, though.
But it was. I literally give it to God, seriously.
Yeah.
And my guidance counselor is really the reason why that really took place, because she loved me to like the utmost.
I mean, you need people in your life who will love you and push and vouch for you.
You're not even lying.
The first time I saw Jamal preach, he preached like a wild man till his clothes were soaking wet. And I was just like, I'd never had any conversation with him. I didn't know him. And I was just like, what manner of man is this?
Oh my God. I still wonder that question to this day.
I was just like, who preaches? And if you've ever experienced his ministry, it's not a build-up. It is, he gets up on 100 and he goes to 1,000 by the time it's done. And
that is because I have such a passion for my preaching.
I know a lot of people, a lot of older preachers, a lot of people don't appreciate it, but I think it's so necessary. I say to people, he is our generation's Noel Jones.
I give that to Keyshawn Joseph. Shout out to him.
Who?
Keyshawn Joseph.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's one of those too. But the energy, the passion that you exhibit when you preach is like none like I've ever seen.
Because my thing is, it's about people. And you never know, like I've never been a crowd preacher. I've never been that type of person to be like, well, how many people is going to come to the service? Or how many people is going to be there?
Now, that is absolutely true. I've seen you preach places where there's 10 people. I've seen you preachers where there are hundreds and you preach the same exact way.
Because you never know. Somebody's at the end of their rope. Somebody's going to give up. And they need to hear that word that was tailor-made for that house. I went to church a couple weeks ago and they had 4 people. And I preached as if the church was full. Because I have a desire to see the people of God.
You have an assignment.
And that's what it is. That's what that is. It's not just a preaching engagement.
So y'all all heard that he's been preaching for 21 years.
Lord help.
Right, so I want to do something really quick.
Okay, I'm listening.
All right.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw out a word.
Oh God.
And I want you to. Don't be long though. I mean, 60 seconds.
You better pray it takes 60 seconds for you to find us out what I'm going to say. How about that?
I want y'all to watch this craziness. I'm gonna throw out a word. I want you to give us 60 seconds of preach something. All right. All right. I saw you trying to look at the words already.
I am. I'm thinking like leaning over.
All right. So the first word is faithful.
A little sermon.
Yeah. Encouraging word. Just give us something with that word.
God is able to do what he said he would do. He's going to perform exactly what he said because he's faithful to do it.
Okay, that's fine.
Simple.
That's like we're gonna build up. We're
Simple.
gonna build up. All right.
Simple.
So the next word I want you to let the Lord use you here.
Okay.
Is just simply the word over.
Over. I am more than a conqueror through him that loved me. I can only conquer something over it because of if he got over it, I can.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
See, we building. All right, the next word.
My brain is turning.
Yep. The next word is after this.
Oh. So, God tells Moses he has one more thing to do before he releases the people from Egypt. And he says, afterwards, he will release you. I believe that there are some times in our lives, certain things cannot come to pass until afterward comes. Because you have to get afterward. And then you can get to the next place. Simple. I'm not TD Jakes.
All right. Real one.
David is presented before Samuel in front of all of his brothers.
Okay.
And the anointing would not flow until David got there. And God said, rise, this is he, anoint him, for this is the one.
This is the real one.
He's the real one.
All right, last one. Make it good.
Oh, God.
You may be able to get some gigs from this now. I need you to act like
I don't do gigs.
This is Star Search.
I don't do gigs. I don't do gigs. That's what this is the problem. They're doing gigs.
Okay. What are you doing? Where are you trying to take this? The last word. The last word is, I forgot it. Hold on.
See, thank you.
Charge.
There's several ways I can go with that, but I want to go something I know that we all do, that we all know. So that word charge for me is like a Pentecost, Acts 2.
Yeah.
They were all in one place with one accord. And that moment charged them to basically turn the world upside down.
Yeah.
So that was a charge given to them to go out, even though they needed that power. but they were given a commission to go out and to make more disciples. You can't make more if you're not one yourself.
Yeah.
So he charges them with the power needed, because if you think about it, this was not the first time that he gave them power.
Yeah.
Scripture even talks about how he gave them power over sickness and over diseases at a certain point. I believe that's St. Luke 9. And then he says when the Pentecost had fully come. That's that charge.
I like that.
Yeah,
that's just a little bit. Just a little bit.
I'm not Emel, praise God.
Oh my God. They didn't ask me to do it because I would have tore it up. Nah,
I know you would have. I
said to them,
no,
when
you
we were
would
doing
have.
this, I said, you know what's not good? If someone asked me to do this, I wouldn't do it. But I know Jamal.
I would do it. I've seen Bishop Jakes do it, and I was just like,
yeah.
what is going on?
Yeah, I think that's who I've seen. Oh, yes, with
Steve Furtick.
Yes,
and I was
absolutely.
like, oh my God.
Absolutely. All right, so on top of everything else you do, right? You're an evangelist. He travels the world. You all should see his schedule. What we're going to do is put a snapshot of his schedule.
We're definitely not.
It is ridiculous.
It really is not.
The longest thing it's like the books of the Bible.
There is a place for liars.
I'm gonna show you for real.
There's a place.
But on top of all that he does, he's a youth pastor.
Yes.
Right? That's not, what's about 3 years?
Going on 3 years.
Okay, 3 years at Mount Moriah.
Yeah, Mount Moriah in Queens.
What is some of the issues, or what have you learned from that role?
Oh man.
What are some of the things you see that we didn't have growing up that you're dealing with now with these young people?
So let's start with this. Let's start with the fact that I have a group of young people that really want God. That's one.
Okay.
2, they all want God differently. Everybody is not going to jump into the way you want God like everybody else.
All right.
Wanting God, meaning there are some people who want to be taught about God. Then there are some that don't mind to be preached to about God. Yeah. And then there are some who just want to have conversation about God. And then also learn how to understand God, not just in church. I want to be able to know God and see him when I'm really going through, and being able to be taught how to handle life's problems as a young believer. I think we preach so much to our young people about being anointed, but we don't teach them how to deal with the devil. Then we don't teach them how to deal with life that comes with situations where sometimes we feel as if some of them feel that they're not good enough to handle what it is that God has called them to do. And then this is something that I always say, and I believe it myself, that some people, our young people, are struggling with their struggles. Yeah. And so what I've learned is that this group that I have, they want God, they want to be taught, they love to be able to dive into deep things, and they love prayer. One day we were asked to do a prayer night. And that turned into something incredible, because I saw the desire for wanting to have conversation with God, and then wanting to be able to learn more about him. Then what I've also learned is being in this particular youth department is that there's so much more to them than just church. Okay. They want to go outside. They want to have fun. They want to be able to do things and still be a young believer.
Right.
When we were growing up, we couldn't go to the movies. We couldn't go down the street. We couldn't stay at nobody's house. We couldn't do nothing. If you had a TV in your house, you were the devil. How? And the pastor had 4 of them. I was confused. That's not fair. All y'all pastors that did that to us, you're not right.
I was going to ask you though, what is one of the differences now? Because that's actually true. Is you've nailed it. Where some people want to be preached.
Yes.
Some people, honestly, this will save their lives.
Oh my God!
Watching us have a conversation about Jesus.
Simple.
Some people want to be taught. We kind of came up with it being one way.
Yeah.
It was preached at you, and I mean preached at you, and if you didn't catch it, then you didn't catch it.
And we were scared.
But we also had, like, my dad, Bishop Brown would also spend Friday nights flat-footed teaching. Yeah. Right? And
that's
he would
necessary.
tell you, if you ask a question and he didn't know, he go, I don't know, but by next week, I'll know. Right? But we don't have much of that.
No. And our generation is more knowledgeable. Because they have more questions. Now, I may be wrong. They probably put me off by saying this. But the reality is, I feel that generations prior were basically reading the Bible, and they were saying, this is the way it needs to be done. Without nobody researching it to see, is this really the way it's supposed to be done? Now you have a generation that go, well, I think I have another port to this.
You're about to present a problem with it, yeah. No, but you are, but because it's true. You ever read something that you've always thought to be true?
Yes.
And then when you read it and you study it and you say,
This is
not what the context of this.
And the Bible says that when the praises go up, blessings come down. Show me.
That ain't in there.
That's not in there. See a forgetfulness. Show me.
That ain't in there.
Certain things.
What about the 7 deadly sins?
Please don't get me started.
When I realized them, I was like, that's not a thing in the Bible.
It's really not a thing. And then there's just so much that we were literally. Well, I mean, I was scared into salvation. I ain't gonna lie. I was 6, and the preacher was preaching hell and brimstone. I don't want to go, and I'll give my life to Christ today.
I mean,
but it saved me.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Thank God.
Saved my life.
Do you think that stuff would work now?
Honestly, I'm 50-50 on it.
Okay, let me hear.
And the reason why I say that is because I do believe that there's a generation that does our generation, there's many of us who do still reverence God. There are some people who have just lost that. That's why they do and say whatever they want. But then also there is some who just don't care. So if you tell them like, you
don't
do this,
care in what way? Don't care about God, don't care about the church.
I just think they don't care about the certain things that we will call rules and regulations. Religion. Yeah, they don't
rock with it.
Not at all. And they're just like, don't even give me that. And then I think sad to say that this, not our generation, but just in general, it's sad to say that some people have literally turned away from God because they don't see what we preach. We present a God or present a lifestyle to them, but they don't see us live it. And that's also another challenge.
Okay. I hear you.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, I hear you.
So, I mean, I'm learning to make sure that I don't, you make mistakes, but you need to be able to live your life where somebody asked me this question. They said, if you were taken to court and they wanted to prove to make you guilty as a Christian, would there be enough evidence to prove it on your behalf? And I had to think about that thing like, would that be a thing? Would I win? Probably wouldn't.
One of the stories I always reference when it comes to that is when Daniel, they do the decree and they say want everybody to worship the king.
Yes.
And then what happens is everyone who hates Daniel, they then follow Daniel. And the Bible says they follow Daniel and they watch him for days and they can find no fault in Daniel.
Nothing.
He does nothing that ever offends God.
Nothing.
And they're so annoyed that they have to lie on him.
Yeah.
And I just think, what if your enemies followed you for a day? Would they have something to talk about, or would you have the report of Daniel?
Now that's powerful.
I always reference that.
That's a real thing,
that
though.
part of the text always sticks out to me because it's one thing, I like you and I follow you. I might give you, but for your enemies to follow you and not be able to report back on you,
that's the difference.
What kind of life are you living?
Yeah. And then, unfortunately, one of the things that I share with my young people and even just with my friends at large is that we have to have a standard. No, you're not going to always be perfect. And this is just me. I may be wrong, but this is what I've noticed. I have never noticed so many of our generation who's been in church all of their life be so high and drunk. Okay. And it's because I personally believe that a lot of things that we have been taught in the word, they've gone away from that. And they feel that that can be a thing that they're using to cope with what they're dealing with. Because when it's over, you finish getting high and get drunk, guess what? The problem is waiting for you like, you're done. So I think a lot of times it's being able to apply the word that you're preaching, that is being preached. You have to apply that word to your life. If you don't, you're not going to see any results. Whose responsibility
is that to grab that generation? Because you're absolutely right. The ones who we grew up with, they're not really in church anymore.
No.
They and not being in church is one thing. There are a lot of them who have strayed away from God.
Strayed away from God. And I think we've been taught to be in church instead of taught relationship.
Oh, shoot.
And then also even understanding what a relationship with God looks like. Because sometimes relationship with God is not a long skirt. It's not you coming up to church and speaking in tongues and running around the building. It's more than that. It's being able to actually not only just live your life, but with an example, but also understanding that there are people that are watching you. I say it all the time. The best parent is transparent. You've got to be honest with people and show them like, hey, listen, there are people that have gone through some of the stuff that you've experienced. And then we don't really talk about testimonies no more. Because we used to have that years ago. We had testimony service. Yeah. And, they overcame by the blood of the Lamb and by the words of their testimony. We don't have that no more. We don't hear it.
Preach the rosy side of the gospel.
Of course.
Yeah, but every rose has a thorn. And there is a side to gospel that sometimes it's a struggle. It's a struggle to be a leader. It's a struggle to be a preacher. And sometimes we don't get that far.
And there's also some things in the Bible that have happened that we can relate to.
Yeah.
Like one of a book I'm working on trying to finish up.
All right, author.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a book too.
Oh, you have a book?
Make sure you get it.
Entitled "Don't Curse the Crisis: How Our Opposition is God's Opportunity." And one of the chapters in there is called "Caught in the Crisis I Created," dealing with the David and Bathsheba story, which I just preached about Sunday. How Bathsheba, for some of us, is not a person; it's a decision.
Yikes!
And you have to deal with the fact that Bathsheba's not a person; it's a decision. And then we have the Uriahs in our life who are so loyal to us, who we end up killing because they would not follow our instructions to go back home to be with Bathsheba to cover up what we did.
Why do you want to talk about this now?
No, I'm just using it as an example. I'm so sorry. I'm not saying no, just use an example. Yeah. But that's something that I dealt with in my life because I've made mistakes and I've done things, and I had to realize that we always preach as if.
You mean to tell me you've made mistakes and you still preach?
Oh yeah.
Wow, is that in the Bible?
What, to make mistakes and still preach? Hey, Jamal chapter 7, verse 8 and 9.
Because we are held at this incredible standard. And
yes.
Now let me be honest with you. I do believe that leadership should be held at a different standard.
Absolutely.
But if we're going to be held at a different standard, we must be handled with a different grace.
Absolutely. Because we're not superheroes.
No, we're not. That's the part that I will prophesy, I will marry, I will bury you. But you got to understand that there's a day when I'm tired.
Yeah,
there's a day when I also might need to be buried.
Yeah,
there's a human side.
There
to
is
the
a human
that
side.
You've been following.
Yes.
Do you believe? And this is a question I always have. Do you believe that we have a generation that still honors leadership the way we honor leadership? This is where I get a lot of pushback. But it's a genuine question. What do you see? You have a bunch of young people. Do they honor you as a leader the way we honored our leaders?
So I will say this.
Youth pastor used to be the dopest position in the church.
Yes.
Right. Is it still like that?
And so for me, I believe that it is.
That's fine.
And I'm going to tell you why I say that. For me, because I have learned how to be a leader, but also learned how to be confidential and to be honest with my young people. Meaning, I'm able to minister to you, but then I'm also able to be touchable. I can actually sit down with you and be like, hey, pastor, can I talk to you about something after church?
Right.
And sometimes your sermon can be powerful and they can grasp it.
Yeah, but your conversation
they still
can be
need a time, 5 or 10 minutes, just to kind of like ask a few questions and talk to you. Right. And I try my best to make myself available. I think not like we used to, because nowhere near. And some of the stuff that our leaders did to us, open rebuke.
Nah, they wouldn't stand for it.
We'd be ready to fight.
They wouldn't stand for it.
I know you ain't talking to me like that. That you ready to fight.
Yeah.
But we honored our leaders because I was taught that your leader was the voice of God for you. Not saying that God didn't talk to you directly, but there are something that your leader would say to you that should have been a confirmation to what you already
just said this to myself is when you have a good leader, good leaders are confirming what God has already said to you.
Yes.
And that's important.
And before we started preaching, and I mean, the leaders used to tell us, if you feel called, come to me and tell me.
Yes.
And you would go to them and say, Pastor, I feel the call for ministry. Okay.
And they would even
grab this broom right here, and we're going to be at the church on Friday, we're going to clean.
Yeah.
And I would clean the church.
Is that stuff still happening, do you think? Nah.
No.
And to be honest with you, that's how I started. I developed this love for the church. I used to work at the church. I did the grounds and polished the brass and did the windows with newspaper, but it made me love God.
Yes.
I loved God because
I was serving. And that was the main thing.
I also was able to get this peak of leadership behind the door.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I love to just be around leadership.
Yeah, me too.
I just think it's so different. I don't know if we're at fault as new age leaders where have we become too familiar with them, right? My bishop tells me all the time that she thinks, I think you're too familiar with them. But I love them so much and I want to be connected to them. But I'm constantly wondering, is there not enough honor because we've become too familiar?
And I think that becomes a challenge also. And I think...
But how do we reach them without being...
And that's hard. I was rebuked for loving people. Like, you're too close to people. You need to pull back. You don't need to be all the way out there. But I'm just like... And then I would get rebuked. You ain't close enough. You need to get close. So what do you want me to do?
Which one is it?
Which one is it? You want me to get close or you want to back up? I'm confused. But then one thing my spiritual father, Bishop Watts, taught me was you have to get in the hearts of the people. In other words, that the people have to understand, they have to trust the God that's in you.
Yep.
Not you.
Yeah.
The God that's in you.
Yeah.
Because the God in you is what's going to lead them to where they have to go. And that's what I've always been taught.
And it's the God in you that disarms situations.
Yes.
If you ever read about Saul and David, Saul hated David, not because he was so skilled, but he saw the God in David.
He saw the God in him.
Everywhere he put David, God was with him.
Everywhere.
He literally says, I can't stand that God is with you everywhere you go.
Everywhere you go.
And that annoyed him. But that's the honest way to get it, is like, just go after God. Don't try to draw people. Go after God.
Then there's a generation of us who are just like Joseph, who are gifted, and people in our own families don't like us. And we're thrown into pits, and we're transported to Potiphar, and then we're thrown into prison. And we don't really understand that those processes, those things happening, are really preparing us to get to the palace.
Yeah.
And when we get there, you have to be able to understand, just like Joseph did, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring to pass as it is this day. If many people understood that my destiny was connected to their preservation, they probably wouldn't treat me the way they treated me.
Yeah. Hey, that's where I am. That's where I am, is that there's going to be a season where people are going to regret the way they treated me.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to be mad that you pushed me into that pit.
Yeah. But it's going to be worth it.
Because I'll be the reason you get provision.
And you eat.
Yeah.
And you won't starve. I'll be that reason.
Yeah.
And so I'm learning that even in my own self.
And that process that Joseph went through made him look different.
It did.
Even so that when his brothers showed up to get food, they didn't even know who he was.
They didn't.
The Bible said they didn't recognize him.
And every place that Joseph went, he had a coat.
Yeah.
God always covers what he invests in.
Yeah.
And so every place he went to, he literally was like, God was like, cover it. Potiphar gave him a coat. When he was in prison, they gave him a coat. When he went to see Pharaoh, they gave him another coat. And then Pharaoh gave him another one because he got promoted. And sometimes it's okay to be successfully second. You don't have to be first.
Yeah.
And I've learned that.
Yeah. Yeah. You've always said that. Like, if I never have to be that,
I've never looked for that.
Yeah.
I've never looked for that. And I know who I'm called to.
Yeah.
I'm called to my generation. Yeah. And people say to me, you have an old soul. I don't see that. I think I'm very young.
Are you blind?
Wow, maybe so. That's why I got 4 eyes and glasses. But, maybe so. At the end of the day, I don't see it, but it's very, very, very much so said to me, especially by the older saints. And I think that's another thing about the longevity in ministry.
Okay.
Because to be very honest, many of the ministry assignments I have that come from preaching these youth conferences, youth conventions, it's not because the pastor invited me. The young people requested me to come back. So it's like, so I must have said something or did something that they wanted me to come back.
Right.
So I'm like, wow, I take that as an honor. And there are messages that I get on Facebook and Instagram, people just reaching out, because they just want to know, thank you. They were blessed by the word. Yeah. So, because I came down their street.
Yeah, I love that. And it's the honest, and that's what you're there for.
Yes.
So I want to segue into how important is it to cultivate the next generation, and how are you doing that? How are we doing that?
So I think me and you honestly will do great with that because we will cultivate it correctly. Meaning, I feel that we were actually given an opportunity. We were actually able to see what it's like to be in the forefront, and then also saw behind the scenes. But also we have to learn that we have to be okay with the next generation coming forward, so we're not jealous. And anybody who is jealous of anything that they have been assigned to cultivate, you're crazy. You should never be like that, although we deal with that. And then also we have to learn to be okay with seeing our sons and daughters, or these young people who we have been assigned to, go and move on. If they're not at our church, if they end up going somewhere else, that's another thing. Years ago, I was told that if you left your church, God ain't with you. That's not true. Because sometimes you can outgrow a space. And you have to be okay. Like, if you have given them everything you can at that moment, you should be proud of yourself. Now they can move on to something else. But you got to make sure you cultivate those gifts that they have and be okay with that.
I think the confusion or the resistance comes from you outgrowing. I just had the conversation with someone today. You outgrowing a space says to the pastor, to the leader, that you've outgrown them, that you're smarter than them.
No, that's not the case.
Yeah, but I think that's the misconception.
Yeah, and I think also that's what we get thrown at, loyalty. But I don't think
sometimes loyalty is used as a source of control,
and it's not. It shouldn't be.
But even someone as great as T.D. Jakes is still submitted to someone. So you can be greater than, you can be big and still be submitted to your leader.
The greatest thing that I was to watch him release Joel Tudman to that church.
Yeah, that's something that I can't even talk about without getting emotional.
Yeah, literally to watch. And let me tell you something. In my transition from going from the church where I was for 20 years, serving my spiritual father, and then transitioning to Bethlehem, Judah, it was hard for me to leave. But I didn't leave because it was something wrong. Not all the time there's something wrong. Sometimes you have gotten to a space and you have to go to something else. Yeah. But look how far I've gotten because of my spiritual father. I would have never sat on platforms and never gotten the opportunities I've gotten unless that man cultivated my gift. Yeah. He trusted me to stay in his stead. And you're still connected to him. And still connected.
Yeah, you'll still drop. I know this for a fact. You'll still drop whatever you're doing.
Yeah, if he called me, be like, hey, son, I need you to do, but I'm going to come.
Yeah.
Because, and I understand that. And I think that's
the misconception. If people leave a church, you can still be connected, love that leader.
Yes.
One of the great things about what T.D. Jakes says, he says to Joel, he says, and if they don't treat you right, you come back home.
Come back home.
Because you're their pastor, but you're my son.
That thing is powerful.
I can't even, because we need leaders going, if that's what, I don't think you should go, but if you go, you're still my son, you're still my daughter, I'll still cover you.
Still cover me.
I'll still love you. You can still come here and I can still be a covering to you.
And
everything doesn't have to be a jealousy, confrontation.
Correct. And an argument. And you left wrong. And all, you can still be connected and still be, like you said, the son or the daughter that God allowed them to cultivate.
So we have people like you and I, we have the opportunity to do it different.
Yes.
But we also got to figure out, and this is a challenge, we do it differently, but we got to figure out how to really enable the same type of honor.
Yes.
They've got to be able to respect us and got to be able to, like, the people that we are pastoring, they should want to be around us.
They should, yes.
Yeah, we got to figure that out.
And I think there's also boundaries. I think everybody has...
I'm horrible at boundaries. Horrible.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, with you, I have a lot of boundaries. I don't really like that. But with people that I love...
I like that.
With people that I love, I'm terrible with boundaries because I'm transparent and I want people to get helped from me any way they can.
I get it. I think I've shared this with a few of my friends. As a matter of fact, a couple weeks ago, we were talking about testimonies. Some testimonies are not for everybody in a corporate setting. 100%. Some things are for 100%. One-on-one. Some things are because everybody will not be able to handle your story. Right. And so you have to be very, very wise what you share. You're not going to get up in no service and no testimony. I used to be a robber. The whole room is going to be like, excuse me? Everyone's going to grab their bags. You can't say certain things.
Yeah, it's 100%.
You say, I went to jail for this. So I did. There's certain things are for certain settings. Yeah. I learned that in a rap session that I went to one time for young people from, I think the age was like 18 to like, I think it was like 25. And they were throwing real stuff out there. And I shared something with them and they were all just like, ooh. Yeah. Because we're preachers. We're not supposed to do anything wrong. Oh, no, we're going to make mistakes.
So what made you share, though?
Because they were being so honest. And then somebody said, well, I know, Pastor, you probably, no, at that time, Minister Brantley, I know you probably don't know anything about that. And I was like,
you had to show them.
I had to go into my journal and just flip to page 47 and go, no, I know. Because I had to be honest and go, hey, I've been there. I know what that's like. I know what this is. And they were shocked. Yeah. But then when we left there, to see the young men who were honest enough to go, wow, nobody's ever been honest with me like that. Yeah. And I had to be honest, but also be real with them. There's certain things we can't do, we shouldn't do. And they were never taught that. Yeah. So that's...
What are some of the traits that the now leaders need to have in order to be now pastors?
Oh, Lord.
And let's be honest about it. I want to say, I think I'll start here and you.
You start, thank you.
I really believe that the now pastors have to be sold out to Jesus.
Completely.
And what I mean is not a YouTube love for the way people are preaching. Mm-hmm. And I'm watching leaders, the now leaders who you watch them and you go, you sound like something that I heard on YouTube.
Yes.
If you're going to be a now leader, you have to have a personal relationship with God.
Absolutely.
You must be able to study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman. The word of God must be your love, your first love.
It has to be.
Right.
Because that's the only way you're going to be able to teach it. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord.
Yes, God.
You have to be able to be, and then make sure you're actually asking God for a word for your people. I'm not just going to get up there and preach hickory dickory dock the mouse up the clock.
Chat GBT and everything too.
Yeah, that's crazy.
How are you chat GBTing a word, a rhema word for your church?
And now you got AI and you can just type it in sermon on faith and just preach that.
It is such a dishonor.
It's crazy.
To the assignment.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Really is.
And people are doing it.
Yeah.
They're doing it bad.
I know. I've even heard people who are allowing people to write their, I don't even want to go there.
Yep, they write their sermons. Yeah.
So the first thing is, and I'm serious, you've got to have a relationship with God. And not just relationship with the emotion of God, but with his word.
With his word.
His word has got to be the most important thing to you. What else? Where else are we going?
I think also that you have to understand that these are God's people.
Watch it.
They're not yours.
Okay. And thanks, guys, for watching today.
Oh, that's it. Okay. Because that's a problem. They're God's people. Because now what I've noticed is that unfortunately a lot of the now pastors have lost it. We have more celebrities than we have servants.
100%.
100%. It's crazy. You have 15 adjutants and you have 13 people in your church. I am 100%. Confused. When did we need all of that?
Social media and YouTube is responsible for that. We have people who will honor a Facebook pastor more than they will honor their own pastor.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they will do more for the people on Facebook and YouTube than they do for their own pastor. And then this may be something light that most people probably don't look at. But I think also we have to look at the people that we're ministering to. A lot of times I think people are very discouraged because we walk around in Gucci and Louis Vuitton and you've got people in your church who can't even hardly get bus fare to get to work and to church. And you're driving. Now, there's nothing wrong with having nice things. And not, people say, well, I ain't turning down what I have, but God bless me. No, it's not even about that. I think that we should be able to do more. And we have to be able to do where's the outreach at? Nobody's reaching out anymore, and I'm tired of it. We need to reach out. Because we preach this, God gonna send them in. He is when you go and get them. You don't see that. You don't see now, like Moriah City. One of the things I love about Moriah City, they have so many things going on. Same thing with my church, Bethlehem Judah. We've got pantry. We know how to reach out to the community. They have mental health and all of that stuff is actually happening. Our churches need to catch up to the times in which we live in. I go to therapy every other Wednesday.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I have to go. My first therapy session, I was taught that was of the devil. That was the best thing that ever happened to me. It really helped me a lot. It really did. Yeah. And I think we have to be able to realize that everybody's not going to just get it from just church. Some people need to understand that. So as leaders, we have to be able to decipher what's demonic and what's mental health.
Yeah.
Because everything ain't the devil.
Right. And that comes from really being honest about your assignment. I think you nailed it too, is realizing that the church is your assignment. It's not your business.
It's not your business.
You are not the CEO of God's church.
Yeah, that's not.
You are actually an employee.
You're actually, and then he can fire you.
And if you want to be CEO, what you should do is go open your own business.
Yes.
And also work for God's.
Yes.
But be the CEO of your own business.
Yeah. I mean, my thing is at the end of the day is that my heart's desire is to be able to see our churches flourish. And then not only just with the spiritual aspect, I think as leaders, we need to also empower our church financially, financial literacy. We need to know about how do you start businesses, what are LLCs and all of that stuff. Because you have people in church that say they're entrepreneurs, but when you ask them certain business questions, they can't give you answers. 100%. We need to make sure that if this is what you say that you feel that you're called to do, let's make sure we get these people in here to assist you because I want to see you do better.
Yeah.
I want to see you have everything that you have.
100%.
And then we have to also preach the favor of God and not put everything on God, because we think that it takes God to get a house. You have good credit, you can get a house. You have good credit, you can get a car.
Right, that's that genie syndrome.
What you need is the favor of God, of course, to go, and then you can be less.
Yeah.
And get the right house, get the right car. But we've been preaching, and then we get up and people say, I lost my house. God don't lose houses and cars, people. Let's stop that.
People lose houses.
People lose houses. The blessing of the Lord maketh rich and addeth no sorrow. I'm not going to be crying about my car.
In the Bible?
Is it in there? Let's research it. Because the people be quoting stuff that it's not in there.
It's in there.
Of course it is. I read it the other day.
All right, so we are loving God, building a relationship with God. We are realizing the assignment.
Yes.
Right? What else? We are transparency. Where's that at? Transparency.
I think there's a level to that. I think we need to
not necessary, you're saying though.
Yeah.
Okay, I hear you.
Yeah. So
But what about honesty?
Yes.
There is a difference between honesty and transparency.
And yeah, it is. Yes. Because sometimes I think we can go too far in transparency. And people be like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And you're like, oh, okay, I went too far. And then people start looking at you different. And I think that's where that judgment for some people comes in.
Okay.
They start judging pastors because they shared something a little bit too much than what they should have.
Okay.
So we need to learn.
So honesty.
Yes.
Mid transparency.
Yeah. Mid. Yeah. Mid.
Commitment to the people.
Commitment to the people, and love God and love the people.
Yeah. Love the people.
Love them.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times
you
you
cannot shepherd the people without loving them.
Because people are, nope, I'm not going there.
And I think also up there is being creative, right?
You have to.
Because that keeps you relevant.
Yes, it does. Read current events.
Yeah. Read the newspaper.
Read the newspaper. Watch the news.
What? Go to the movies.
So
read a book.
Here's that piece. Balance.
Yeah.
And if I'm to be very honest and mid-transparent, I didn't learn balance until 2020.
That's a shame.
I didn't, because I was so churched. I didn't learn it until 2020. God connected me to some friends. Shout out to my friends. Jamar, Lauren, Jarek, Brianna, and Wayne. We learned each other, got connected.
People, but hey.
Don't worry about it. They're very famous. And we got connected. Those are my millionaire friends. And then I have other friends that I really, really love. And there's some people that you can have friends with that are really church like you. And then there are other individuals who you get to learn.
You think I'm really church?
You're still getting saved. So, you're still getting saved. You're a pilgrim passing through.
I've never heard anybody say I'm
you're still getting saved. So, yeah, it's funny.
You found that real funny on the camera.
Let's crack up. But yeah, I think balance. And I learned it because I was able to go out and have fun and still learn that I could still be saved and still be able to go to dinner and go to the movies and go to bowling and have fun and enjoy life.
You can actually be a human,
yes,
and love God.
At the same time.
They work together.
They can intertwine.
Because he created the human.
He did.
So yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I'm loving that.
Listen, I enjoyed this conversation.
I did too. I hope I did okay.
You did mid.
I thought so.
I mean, I've actually had better guests, but it's fine.
It's totally fine. Because, I'm just here. I'm a fill-in. Somebody must have canceled. I'm a fill-in.
I appreciate you. You are one of the guys I really love and admire.
And I appreciate you. Yeah, and let me say that before we close this out. I got to say that. For years, we had Prophet Jerome Solomon. But then...
Why? What did you bring him up for?
I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Because when you took over the youth department...
And that I did.
You did not let that thing drop.
Watch it.
You didn't.
Ain't nobody ever told me that before.
Oh, well, I'll say it. You didn't. Because there are many times that there are people that I think we have to learn our space and our own shoes. And sometimes it's hard to take over for someone who has done such a great job and then fill it in. And then that, wow. And then, now you're the pastor. Look at that. You saw the transition happen. The senior pastor, lead pastor. What pastor are you?
I am the podcast pastor. Listen, we love you so much. Thank you all for watching. I want y'all to support Jamal. Jamal, tell people where they can find you. Where they can book
find me in prayer at right now. You can find me on Instagram, Jamal.a.Brantley. Facebook, Jamal A. Brantley.
Single. He's single. Are you single? Or are you looking for?
No, I am not available.
Okay. Listen, I gotta go.
Not available.
I love y'all so.
A lot of people gonna be sending messages in these comments.
It's my time now.
Woo! Part 2 coming soon.
Oh God. I love y'all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Hit that like, that share, that comment. Do what you gotta do. Until next time, I'm Pastor Emel. Thank you for watching.
You know how many people are gonna be writing me when they see this thing?
Zero.
Them inbox gonna be going off like, so were you talking about me?